Hello guys, we are live today at ESENtaxa. Welcome back. Finally, we can be online. We are waiting just 1 minute because we set up live at 17:15. Today we are going to discuss about a big change, big news, unexpected news, I would say, because nobody was thinking about it, no rumors about this Impatriate regime 2024. So it creates a lot of confusions among peoples. It creates a lot of worries for the people who are looking for Italy as a next destination for the next year, from 2024 onwards, for the new tax residents there. And basically, these things, if you think about it, guys, happens more or less at the same time of the NHR program that will come to an end for Portugal. So this is something that we have to think that most likely there's been a pressure from high level, from European Commission level towards countries, towards European countries to avoid certain discrepancies and certain unfair concurrencies between fiscal tax systems of European countries. So they probably said to Italy, you cannot exaggerate with the Impatriate regime, and towards Portugal, you should basically reduce or dismantle totally the NHR. Okay, so let's go straight to the point. I'm going to basically start talking about the new rules of the Impatriate regime 2024. What about who already applied for this regime, and what about who is going to move to Italy soon? After that, we have some space for questions. You can start writing questions, Guy, on the chat. I will read it later on. First of all, I want to remind you that we have already updated the Impatriate eligibility test for 2024. So if you are looking for Italy as a next destination for 2024, you already have the Impatriate eligibility test with the updates. So the videos are the same, but we have in the description the updates. So basically the same thing that I'm going to discuss now. Of course, in the test eligibility, there will be a more deep discussion about it, about all the tax clarifications combined with this new tax regime 2024. Okay, so it's very important that you take a note, and also if you really want to move to Italy, apply for the eligibility test online course that we have in our website. I'm going to leave you the link in the chat right now. And also we have opened the accountability test, the accounting new web page, new packages for 2024, still in our website, www.esentaxa.com/accounting. So we also promote the accounting with several packages. Now, I don't want to discuss too much about the accounting. Now we have to discuss about the Impatriate regime 2024. So, as I said, it's unexpected news. And unfortunately, the bad news is that the government wants to restrict the usage of the Impatriate regime, okay? So what are those restrictions? The first restriction, the first one, it's the upper limit. So has been finally defined an upper limit of 600,000 euro. Okay, so this upper limit actually fixes another problem. If you remember, guys, if you have followed our channels, a lot of people were asking about de minimis, the famous de minimis state aid. So the European Union give to each European country the state aid of 200,000 euro in a span of 3 years under the form of state aid. So the Impatriate regime was not clear if the huge amount of tax saved belonging to the state aid, you know? So with this upper limit of 600,000 euro, it means that they have solved the issue. So they put in the law, so it's written in the law, not in tax qualification, it's explicitly written the number 600,000 euro. Above this limit, if you pass this limit, you exit the Impatriate regime, and actually you fail the Impatriate regime, which means that you have to give back everything. Okay, whenever we fail the Impatriate regime, is always we have to give back. Then the other restriction, okay, this is not a real a big deal. The second element is that you should not live in Italy in the previous 3 tax years instead of 2. Okay. And also this comes with the tax clarification. It's not more anymore 24 consecutive months, but you have to multiply the number of months with the years. So basically you have to make 12 multiply 3 years to make sure to be fully 3 tax years free of the relocation. But the real problem is the third constraint, which is basically is 5 years from now, 5 years that you have to stay in Italy for it's a mandatory requirement. It's not anymore 2 years. So maybe this is the big constraint. Because a lot of people are thinking about the Impatriate regime as a test. I would like to move to Italy. I want to check how I feel like living in Italy. It's true that I'm going to spend a lot of money, but I also want to see if I like living in Italy. I'm talking about those who do not know the country, because we have several clients that have Italian roots. They took the Italian citizenship, and they want to basically live in Italy regardless about this time constraint. They just want to have ties with Italy. They have parents, they have ancestors, etc., etc. Just love the country and they move there, so they don't care how long they want to stay there. But for those who want to just stay just a minimum amount of time just to see if it's bearable, unfortunately, this is not anymore possible because you have to stay 5 years. So you can apply the Impatriate regime, okay, if you have the requirements, of course, and then you must stay for 5 years. If you fail this, you have to give back everything, plus fine and interests. And the tax clarification is still the same thing, same reason. All the consecutive months in the 5 years. You cannot just leave your tax residence there and then you flee the country. Now, another big constraint is that we have the mandatory bachelor degree, at least. I would say the 90% of our clients got a degree, so I don't think it's a big constraint. Okay, for those who are not high qualified professionals, unfortunately, the Impatriate regime is not anymore possible. So what does it mean? It means that you have to possess a bachelor degree at least, and this is very important, you have to work under a sphere of high qualified professional. And this time the government written very precisely the law. It's explicitly written the list of professions that you can apply for the Impatriate regime. It used to be open to everyone. Now, it used to be actually open to everyone inside the European Union, and outside the European Union, you were obliged to have a degree. Now, everybody has to have a degree, and at the top of it, they have to perform as a freelancer or as an employee, and a high qualified profession, which is in the list, an official list on the Italian Istat institution. Okay, so this is very peculiar. Now we have some restrictions at this level, and of course, the most important thing is how much taxes I'm going to pay now, because the Impatriate regime up to 2023 was 90% deduction tax-free of my income in the south of Italy, and 70% deduction. So 70% of my income is tax-free if I move in the north of Italy. Now it's 50% in the entire country. So there is no anymore, I don't have to anymore play or like I'm going to move in the south because I have 90% deduction, and then I would like to move right after in the north because the job is in the north, but I want to benefit from the maximum deduction. No more this kind of games. Everything, everywhere in the territory, we have 50% deduction. So 50% of your income will be tax-free, and 50% will be taxable. Another thing, important thing, Social Security calculation remains the same. So it's calculated after the deduction, and they get rid of the entrepreneur type of income. So the famous discrepancies we had in the past between autonomous work freelancer with the calculation of the contribution versus the calculation of contribution of entrepreneur type, this has been abolished. So the entrepreneur type doesn't exist anymore. So there is not anymore this problem. And another thing that seems to be abolished is the possibility of extend this regime for other 5 years. So this is not possible anymore. It seems that you cannot anymore extend the Impatriate regime. You will stay for 5 years, and you have to stay for 5 years, okay? So this is what is written in the law. For sure, other tax clarification will come right after, but keep in mind that this is a decreed law. So the government is promoting this package of law, and this law has to pass through the parliament. So this is not end yet. Most likely, the big structure of what I have just said, all these points most likely will remain the same, but we might expect some change through the parliament when the law will pass through the parliament. So they have 1 month, if I'm not wrong. Before the end of the year, they have to convert this decreed law into a final law. And in the conversion process, the parliament has to vote the government promoted by the law promoted by the government, and we might have some change here and there. So maybe they could add some years, or they maybe will increase again the deduction for the south of Italy. So it's still not end. It's still not said the last words. We have to wait a little bit more to be 100% sure. By experience, we know that this is the structure, the new structure. So the majority of what I said will be approved for sure. Any other thing? We have already made an estimation about how much taxes I'm going to pay, and for those who can consider the Impatriate regime quite convenient. Keep in mind that now that the NHR program in Portugal has been abolished, will be abolished next year, Italy is still convenient with the Impatriate regime from a certain extent, because roughly, a very rough calculation, of course, if you want to know more about your specific situation, you can come in a consultants with us in our website, www.ESENtaxa.com/services. You will find our consultancy services. But I can start saying that if your revenue it's bigger than 150,000 euro per year, 200,000 euro per year, the Impatriate regime, it's more convenient than the NHR, based on calculations. Of course, if your income is bigger, it gets close to 600,000, is getting more and more convenient. Because why? Because the social contribution in Italy is capped up to 113,000 euro per year in 2023. So with the cap, that social security will stop growing, and you only pay taxes on the remaining 50%. And another thing that has been put in place for sure in 2024 is the reduction of the RPF taxation. So we have a slight reduction compared to 2023. The first bracket of 23% has been extended from 0 to 28,000. So basically the idea of the government is to go towards a flat tax system in the next years. But in a span of 5 years of the Impatriate regime, keep in mind that you can also exploit the incremental flat tax of 15%. So basically, if your income grows, you don't exceed the next tax bracket, but you will be taxed at 15%. We have talked about the incremental flat tax in this video. So if you want to know more, you can go through our previous videos, or if you want to understand your personal situation, you can have a consultancy with us. What else? I think I said basically already everything. One important thing. What about the persons already applied for the Impatriate regime before 2024? This law only works for 2024 onwards. So if you acquire the Italian tax residence from 2024, then it's the first year that you will start using the Impatriate regime, and you will fall into the new regulation. Those who have already applied for the Impatriate regime in 2023, because they moved to Italy before 2nd of July of this year, they still have time. They still can apply the old Impatriate regime with the old percentages. So 70% and 90%, and everything remains the same. So if some of you guys move to Italy before 2nd of July, you might have the chance to apply the Impatriate regime still in the old-fashioned way, let's say. Okay, I think I said everything. Again, we already have updated the Impatriate regime eligibility test 2024 in our online courses webpage. So we are ready now for the questions. I see quite a lot of questions tonight. I believe that, yeah, has been a big change. It was real unexpected change. So imagine that we have released a video a few days ago with already all the information. So even here in ESENtaxa, we try to be very fast whenever we have a new news about regulation, Italian regulation, Italian tax laws, but this time the government really caught us by surprise. So let's see the first questions. Please speak in English, not in Italian in this chat. ESENtaxa talks about Italian taxes, but is in English language. So please write in English for give the possibility to everyone to understand your questions. So let's start with the first questions. If I can be 183 days in Italy this year, it's too late to the 90% tax deduction for living in the south of Italy. I will have to go under the new rules. Yes, correct. Exactly what I said before. You had to move before the 1st of July 2023, correct? Okay, so I guess I will cancel my Italy plans and move to another country then. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not exactly the same tax benefit as before. Keep in mind that now in Europe, I don't think there are so many tax haven left now. I mean, after the Portugal tax break, the NHR close, there is nothing else left. Italy is still good as a tax, let's say not tax haven, but a tax low country as a new resident. Keep in mind that there is still a place in Italy, which is Campione d'Italia municipality, where you can combine the deduction given by default by the state for Campione d'Italia position, which is an Italian exclave in the Swiss territory. So you have 30% deduction at the top of the 50% of the Impatriate regime. So there you can have an 80% deduction of your income. 80 is still quite high. The problem is a small territory. So that's the other side of the coin. What about the new rule about changing your employer? How would it work, self-employed that have same client for many years? The tax clarifications about the Impatriate regime, they works exactly the same. Basically, what has been changed are just numbers in terms of number of years that you have to stay, number of years that you have to stay outside Italy prior your relocation. Has been introduced a limit, an upper limit, and there has been basically reduced the amount of deduction that you can have. That's the difference. All the rest of tax clarification works exactly the same as before, because the tax clarification, the Italian tax agency look at the previous tax clarification if there is a new law coming from the previous one. Okay, so this is how it works. Of course, we will have new tax clarification in 2024, but maybe in the next month. But right now, the previous tax clarification, they have to be taken into account exactly as it is. Okay. So about changing your employer, it's still the same thing. Letter of intent, former employer, etc. It has to be changed, etc., etc., etc. I wait a couple of weeks. They might change, as many people are complaining. It's not true. No nationality. I didn't understand the fact of the nationality. The nationality has nothing to do with the Impatriate regime. The only difference is that if you're Italian and you have the obligation of being registered in the foreign consulate of the Italian people living abroad, which is called AIRE office. Okay, so this is the only difference with the other people. Even people who are freelancers, self-employed, will need a bachelor degree. Yes, not only the bachelor degree, they also have to prove somehow to work as a high qualified individual, and they have to belong to a list of high qualified professions. For example, an IT developer could be part of this Impatriate regime. It's very similar to the list of the NHR of Portugal. It's very, very similar. Italy has also its official list of so-called high qualified professionals. Okay, so you have to be a high qualified professional working with this role as freelancer and employee, plus your bachelor. Okay, the Italian, please do not write in Italian, as I said before. Cyprus seems to be the best alternative, or Cyprus combined with Malta. Okay, might be, yeah. But keep in mind that you always have to live in an island. So if you think about it, all the countries with a very low tax rate, they are islands or place far to reach. So you have to spend a lot of money to go there, to move around. Islands might have issues. If you have storms, you cannot take your boat, you cannot fly. You know, it's different when you live in a country in the heart of Europe, well connected with all your services, rather than living in an island somewhere. So you have to not just consider taxes in your picture, but also the quality of living, purchase of cost, and also the facilities. If you need for your job to travel a lot, that could be a problem. The list of professions are included in the course eligibility test, guys. This is an insight only for those who are purchasing the course in the eligibility test for 2024. The comment, you missed my comment about petition. Which is the petition? Can you please write it again? Okay, so I think I replied to all your questions, guys. You can take the chance to write some other questions. I wrote here some notes about the Impatriate regime. What we can do with our accountability in ESENtaxa is to analyze your situation, your specific situation, and allows you to understand if Italy still makes sense for you with the Impatriate regime. We have also some techniques to reduce the social security, to reduce your accounting cost, remove your, I mean, not remove, but add some tax optimization and try to squeeze your taxes down. I would say that now your tax pressure with this new Impatriate regime rules would be roughly 15%, between 15% and 20% if your income is quite high, close to 600,000. And for lower incomes, now the forfait regime makes more sense. It used to be more convenient, even when you were moving in the north of Italy with 70% deduction under the Impatriate regime. Imagine now. So keep in mind also the forfait regime could be a nice option, because in the future the forfait regime might be extended to 100,000 euro. Very short future, next year, most likely. And the RPF is going to be decreased from 23% tax rate down to 15% tax rates. So it's true that the government reduced the Impatriate regime, but the idea is to reduce taxes in general, also for people who are already living in Italy. And if they reduce the ordinary RPF taxation, automatically they will reduce also the Impatriate regime part. It's been also introduced a new concept in the Italian legislation, which is the reshoring of the companies. So a company from abroad, if they want to come back to Italy, they will pay 15% corporate tax rather than 24%. But this is something that needs to be still passed through the parliament, and we need to see if they will basically keep this idea or not. Another questions. In your experience, is it possible that rules can change retroactively for people already benefiting from the Impatriate regime? As I said before, the Impatriate regime applied already in execution for 2023. So if you already applied for the Impatriate regime in Italy in 2023 because you are tax resident in 2023, so you can trigger the Impatriate regime only if you are Italian tax resident. So if you were moved in Italy, if you were in Italy before 2nd of July 2023, you might have the chance to apply for the Impatriate regime, and it's not retroactive for you, okay? So you can still benefit from 90% deduction if you moved in the south of Italy, or 70% deduction if you moved in the north of Italy for 5 years, plus other 5 if you have the possibility to extend it, okay? So guys, if you woke up today and you knew about the Impatriate regime, today is too late to apply the previous one, okay? So this is unfortunately is the bad news, okay? Thank you very much. Yeah, unfortunately they changed it, but we might have other surprises, because we are still in October and the Italian budget law needs to be still finalized and published before the end of the tax year, which is December, okay? The law has to pass through the parliament. We might have some surprises. We might have some changes. So what you can do here is to subscribe ESENtaxa, notification bell and like button to help us grow as a channel in order to be always notified whenever we release this kind of live videos or news through posts, etc., etc. Okay, I think we have here like 24 minutes of live, so I think it's enough for today. Thank you. I'll see you to the next Wednesday in the live. Bye bye.